Industrial souls forged in fire's embrace. Their lives entwined with steel's relentless pace. In factory's depths, where engines hum and roar. Hey guys, welcome to the latest episode of Industrial Souls. Today, I'm going to be joined by a friend of mine, Clint Kuykendall, and he is a sales and marketing professional with Real Solutions, and he's going to be with us talking about sales and marketing, and then also talking about people. How many times am I going to hit the wrong button? Clint, I keep hitting the wrong button at the wrong time. You got to give me a break on this one.
It happens.
Today I'm going to be joined by Clint, and he's going to be talking to us about sales and marketing, and he's going to be talking to us about his family and some of the things they're doing, raising their kids and doing education. And we're going to be back in just a second because things are about to get industrial. Clint, you know the show is live when the guy running the show is clicking the wrong buttons at the wrong time. But hey, we do not pretend to be perfect or professionals. This is just raw reality coming at you, raw industrial marketing coming down the stream. But anyways, Clint, I just wanted to say, hey, thanks for being on my show.
Thanks so much for having me. I respect what you do a lot. Question, I don't know if anybody has asked about this yet. The music at the beginning, did you make that? Is that like, where did that come from?
Yeah, so I made that using Suno, which is an AI music generator, and using actually Google's version of ChatGPT, Gemini. So I actually, in 5 minutes, it was shocking how fast and easy it was. I did a couple posts about this before. You can dig them up. I said, write a song, Google, with some chorus and verse called Industrial Souls about industrial people working in the industrial world. And it wrote all those lyrics. That was like the first thing. I think I changed one word, dumped it into this thing, Suno, and made a song and posted it out there. Nobody liked it because it wasn't heavy enough. They're like, dude, this is cool. And it's cool that you made this in like 5 minutes, but it doesn't fit your brand. So then I'm like, okay, I went back to Suno again and said, same thing, but this time make it sound like new metal. And it came up with that one. And I was like, this rocks. This song actually rocks. It's like 4.5 minutes long. If you Google around on my LinkedIn, you'll find a post about it in there somewhere and you can hear the whole tune. I was shocked the level of detail, like it does chorus, verse, then like a break, and then like a talk over part. And it's got all this variation. I don't know if you've ever played with it. Have you ever played with that tool? You got to go out and check it out.
That was pretty cool. It's so intense. I thought it was it's a nod to your heavy metal days for sure.
I guess so. You know, I don't talk about my heavy metal days a whole lot, but like, I guess I have a metal vibe and people are like, dude, this doesn't fit your brand. You need to do this more metal. And the other one that's with the graphics, that's actually just like a piece of clip music. But the first one where he actually sings about industrial souls is all AI. But hey, we're not here to hear about me or my music creation process. We're here to hear about you. So, you know, just by way of introduction, why don't you real quick give us the rundown? It doesn't have to be quick. You could do it as long as you like. Give us the rundown of your career and how you ended up in sales and marketing in the industrial space and what you're doing now.
Yeah, I think that's the question that every every sales or marketing professional in industrial asks themselves is like, how
How
did
did
I
I
end up?
get here?
How did I end up here? So, so I went to
That's
school.
good.
We're talking about music. I actually went to school for a degree called music therapy. Um, Pretty obscure. It was me and I think three other men, and then like 60 women, all from Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting program. But I did that for a year. I was like, this is cool. I think I want to go build something, whatever that means. And so I switched to marketing. And I think going into the last year of college, I met a guy at a job fair, worked for an industrial distributor. Um, and I just started working there because it paid a little more than Schlotsky's. And so I did that for a while. And then I went full time in that, just doing sales support. And then a sales position opened up, and somebody put me up for it. And I was like, I'm not sure I can do it. And the manager was like, I'm not sure you can do it. I was super quiet at the time, and but I ended up giving it a go and did pretty well. And then so I did sales for maybe 5 years, and then I was a branch manager for a couple of years, and then so all industrial. The awesome thing about the distributor, it was Fastenal, um, was that they give you lots of opportunities. And so my first day in sales was like, manager threw me the keys and was like, don't sell anything under 20% margin. And I was like, who do I talk to? Who are my customers? What do I say? He's like, you'll figure it out.
Nice.
Yeah. So that was literally like, there was some training by corporate, but that was it. Like it was,
So,
here's a truck, go find people. If it looks like they're
yeah.
industrial, if it looks like they might need PPE or fasteners or whatever, walk in, just make yourself at home and try to sell stuff. So
Nice.
yeah.
Did you like that then? Did you like doing that?
Man, it's a loaded question. I'm grateful for it.
Yeah.
And there
I see where
were,
you're going here.
yeah, yeah.
No, keep going.
And let's see, I'm grateful for it. I enjoy getting like traction, like building something. Like, hey, this person we didn't know who they were, and now they are like they're buying, like they're a huge account for us. And so it's like it's fun getting that traction.
Yeah.
It's fun getting paid for your results.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of it that I didn't necessarily like.
So right now you're with Quality Real Solutions, and are they? I mean, Fastenal is a big company, right? I mean, they're pretty huge. Quality Real Solutions, I assume, is significantly smaller. Would that be accurate?
Yeah.
So what's that transition been like from going to kind of a big corporate environment to a less big environment?
Fastenal had like 20,000 employees.
Yeah.
Quality Real, when I started, had about 10 to 20 office employees. The rest were production. We're bigger now. But I was going from a sales team of, thousands of salespeople to two salespeople in the whole company. And honestly, so the training was kind of similar in the fact that they're like, here's how we make them. Here's a computer. You look kind of smart. I think you'll figure it out. And so it's like, all right, good enough for me. But I definitely felt like once I was in this position, it's like, oh, I can breathe now. I can I'm less restricted by just the way the whole operation operates. And I kind of took off with it.
And it seems like in this role, I would imagine much more than in Fastenal, that you have more of a marketing, marketing component to what you're doing, right?
Yeah, that was something that we grew into. It's not something that we've always had. again, comparing it to like Fastenal, it's like these are like $5 billion companies, Fastenal, Grainger, big MasterCard. Like they have giant marketing teams and
Right.
everything like that. Switch over to like somebody like a wood reel manufacturer. There's limited manufacturers, like there's limited competitors in the space, and in industrial, especially in the almost like more commodity based businesses like lumber and like wood products. Um, if you can do just a little bit on the marketing side, if you can do just a little bit, like halfway decent, you're already ahead of like all the other competitors. And so with just some stuff that we recently started doing on social media, I've noticed that I think we were kind of one of the first to move there, and I've noticed some more activity from the other like our competitors, which is kind of fun. It's like, hey, like let's raise the water level together, but also like let me be first because it's more fun.
It is. It's actually super fun as a marketer myself to when you push and you see the market push back, like that is kind of encouraging. Like it feels like you're doing something right, and then two, it feels like you're making an impact. You know, it's like, okay, even our competitors are like seeing this and feeling this and then changing their strategy to adapt to what it is that we're doing. That's actually pretty exciting, I think, when you run across a situation like that. I want to drill in a little bit more to one thing you said, because we talked a little about this before, which is like this concept of if you do anything, you're probably already ahead. And I feel like this is an important concept because I think it applies to a lot of people in the manufacturing space, in the industrial manufacturing space, I guess. So like if you were, maybe just tell us a little bit more about your experience just being the first to do something and then seeing, you know, that it's actually working, and then how that affected you and your management team, or if you felt like you had buy-in to do these things or had to. A lot of times when nobody's making the first move, I think I've talked to other people and ran into this situation where everybody's afraid to make the first move, I guess. So that it's hard to be that person who goes ahead and takes that step when nobody else is doing anything. I guess maybe tell us about that environment at your workplace, or how you just decided you were going to start doing things, or how your management has reacted to it, if whatever you feel like you're free to tell us in that regard. Just for other people, I guess, mainly for their encouragement, who might be afraid to take that step.
Yeah, I had this conversation on a podcast recently, and they're like, "Oh wow, how did you like get this buy-in? Like, what does that conversation look like with your management?" It's like, honestly, like I just asked. Like I gave a short presentation. I was like, "Hey, is this something that we'd be interested in doing?" And they were all marketers and have always been marketers, and there was like, I think this like kind of like almost shocked to where it's like, oh, it's that simple. I think that's the sales background, like in me. It's just like, well, let's just ask and go from there. So I think anytime you ask a management team about should we do marketing, I think everybody's on board. From that point, I think it's just a matter of clarifying what that strategy actually looks like, and having a structure that will allow it to happen. Because we actually tried a few other times, and it was like everybody was involved, all the management was involved, and everybody was excited, but there wasn't really a hierarchy. And so like we would do some things and they just got bounced around and nobody would actually push it forward.
Right.
I think the only difference this time is we actually kind of made that path. It's like, hey, this person will do this, kind of push it back up through here. If we need to get input from these people on this side, we can do that. But there's kind of limited to like 2 or 3 people that are touching it most of the time.
Yeah. I think a lot of things die in committees, right? Like you get too many people involved in some project, and then always like, you've seen those memes going around where it's like a pizza with a chicken and M&Ms and like Legos on top, and they're like, yeah, okay, everybody had their input. You know, things can be that way for sure.
Yeah, it reminds me of there's a builder. He built these really like eccentric houses in the town that I went to college in, and he came and spoke to one of my marketing classes one time. He's like, I don't give anybody, even the owners, any input on the house because as soon as we have more than like 2 or 3 people, it just turns beige.
Right.
So the only way to like hold on to that like uniqueness was to have kind of one person steering the ship.
Yeah. I think that that's totally true. It's hard to implement anybody's vision. Groups don't have a vision really. Sometimes they have a vague direction, but they don't really have like a usually defined vision like a single person would, you know? So that makes a big difference, I think. And again, with your whole doing something is better doing nothing, you know, even if it is just a one idea, you can execute it versus, you know, getting too many ideas in there and then you can't execute it. And then you're back in that doing nothing stage real fast, you know?
Yeah, sure.
I've also noticed like on your LinkedIn, you post a lot of encouraging, what I would say are kind of like little encouragements for other salespeople. You've mentioned like your sales team. I don't know if it's grown since when you started and it had only 2 people, but you know, I feel like you're out there encouraging salespeople in general. Just tell us a little bit about that and your motivation behind that.
I think a lot of what I write is things that I would have wanted to know.
Right.
When I first started out, one time I loaded all my posts into ChatGPT and asked what theme, like what kind of like overarching themes. I was like, what do I talk about? And one of the first things it spit out was human-centric sales or something. It's like, okay, that's pretty accurate. So
That's great.
yeah, I think sales gets a bad rep.
It does.
I mean, you're literally the whole job of sales is to connect value with somebody that can benefit from it. And then all the rest is like, you know, it's up to you. Like if you want to be a, I don't know, pushy, annoying person, then like that's on you. Right.
Yeah. I'm wondering how you found that kind of human-centric selling translating into social selling in the industrial space on LinkedIn as a tactic. I actually, one of your posts recently, you were like, I get a lot of value out of these free tools. And you were like, you know, Google Maps, LinkedIn, I can't remember what all you had in there, but it was like, here's some free tools. I use these every day to prospect and do sales. But the human-centric side really appeals to me because that, I think, fits really well with the model of social selling, right? It's just about people, but online. So how have you brought that, I guess, into your LinkedIn strategy, so to say, and what have you found is the result of that on LinkedIn?
Yeah, that's interesting. I guess you could say it's social selling. I hadn't thought of it that way. So I started out doing a lot of posts about just like sales and leadership and just like finding ways to comment and interact with people about that. And then I would post about like wood reels about our business and stuff like that. And then I would have like a really positive response. And so it's almost like if you just talk about your business, like your product, then you're just like this kind of spammy salesperson. But if on the other hand, if you just talk about sales and like kind of like abstract ideas, you're not really saying anything. And there's no, like nobody knows what you're like, what you stand for, like what your identity is. And so it's like posting about both of them like posting about your product helps like solidify your personal brand to the people that like the sales stuff. And then posting about sales helps you to solidify like who you are and connect with people that are interested in the product. I've definitely had some leads come in through the stuff I posted.
Yeah, I actually feel like your, for lack of a better word, vibe on LinkedIn is actually very much kind of like your personal vibe. Like you're very smooth and low key, like in a good way. And your posts about your reels. What's interesting is, okay, I don't have anything to do with reels. Like I've never thought about a reel actually until I met you at the Industrial Marketing Summit. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess those things exist, right? But then when you post about them, I actually find it interesting, even your posts about your product, because I don't know, because getting to know you online, and then it's something completely out of my wheelhouse, right? So it's something completely new, and you don't generally like get into the weeds in these posts. They're low key. They're just like, hey, once you start thinking about wood reels, you see them everywhere. And then, here's random pictures where I was out and about and saw wood reels, or even the other day you posted this one that was like, actually like you made your own marketing material, I think. And it was like the questions that people ask about wood reels. But I think, like you said, you're out there and you're not all about wood reels, like lowest price wood reels you'll find anywhere. You got to call me now. Like it's just like
wants to be connected with that guy.
Yeah, exactly. The way you bring it in, it's actually interesting. I think even for somebody who has no desire about wood reels, which may or may not be beneficial to you, but like, oh, okay, if ever anybody asked me about wood reels, I'd know who to tell them to talk to. But I think the posts in general, though, are interesting. So many times I think when you do bring those posts in that are like, okay, this is about my business, they feel so corporate, but yours don't have that feel. They feel human, like it's just from you. It's not from, Quality Reels. It's like you're just posting about your life, which just happens to be about reels because that's what you just happen to be doing. It's got a different vibe to it. I think it's kind of cool, honestly.
I appreciate the feedback. I think I might describe myself as like a polite anarchist. Like I'm not out to hurt anybody, but anything status quo, anything corporate, anything like trifling in that way, I just want to see burn. Like I want to see like the human aspect under it.
Yeah, actually, I agree with that. Your description of yourself there. I think also anarchy gets a bad rap in general. It's one of these things that describe something everybody agrees with until they know what it's called. And anarchy is one of those things. It's like people want to be free. They don't need rules. We don't need a lot of stuff jammed down our throat. Get the heck out of my way. Leave me alone. We're all good with that, But yeah, I feel like there is actually this kind of creative or how would I say it? Like a creative or unique approach that you bring. So you're a sales guy, but you're bringing some unique insights and approaches and doing things a little differently. So this is kind of a theme already in my convos with you and in this convo of like, okay, I'm going to come into this thing and I'm going to do something and I'm going to do something a little differently. And yeah, this little thing makes a difference. I'm not just going to be corporate or have my blinders on or follow the rails because that's where the rails go. But I'm going to bring a little bit of my own self and dare to be, a unique individual, but not, you're not flaming on fire or painted yellow. You're like a regular dude. You're pretty, straightforward. But beneath the surface, there is like that quiet anarchist, or there's like that little rebel in there. I can tell it's in there. One of the things that we have talked about before where this comes out is through your family and your approach to your kids and your education. So I'm going to switch gears here and just say, why don't you just tell us about that?
So yeah, my daughter started kindergarten this year, which is just crazy. This is her first week, and it felt completely wrong to send her out for 8 hours a
Big
day.
moments,
Yeah,
big moments in life.
it was awful. Um, but I think so. One thing that you and I had talked about was I had this idea, or I had read this book when our daughter was first born, and it was about this experimental school in the UK, and it was a boarding school where children were given pretty much like total freedom in a lot of ways. Like they didn't have to go to class, they didn't have to take a bath, they didn't have to do really anything they didn't want to, as long as they didn't hurt somebody else. And if they did cross that line, and they would sit in this committee of their peers, and their peers would decide on like what needed to happen to rectify the situation. And so what they found is kids actually wanted to go to school, and they wanted to interact like altruistically with each other. And they would actually, this was eye opening, they would actually rebel and not go to class when they first got there. And that was in correlation to how, I guess, oppressed or repressed they were in their home setting. So if there were lots and lots of rules and expectations, they wouldn't go to class for a long time. They would just, go destroy property and things like that. But ultimately, they would form like altruistic communities. They would go to class. They would want to learn, and they would learn the things that they were actually interested in, which is really cool, which is something else you and I have talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's almost like, and there's only so much of that I feel like you can actually apply in our culture. But
Right.
but the idea of it is almost like, instead of building a kid, like building each expectation that they're supposed to have, you dissolve those things. And actually what comes out is like a more authentic version of those things, because what they found, like what is shown in this book is like that's already there. Like those like communal tendencies, like love and affection, and just all those like positive traits are actually already there when you remove everything else.
Right.
So I think we've taken, again, like there's only so much you can actually apply, I feel like, but I think we've at least taken that idea with our parenting a little bit. So it's like, hey, there's already somebody inside there. Like, let's not screw it up too much. And then I'll give this disclaimer, is that after 5.5 years so far as a parent, like a lot of my theories have just like flown out the window. It's like there are plenty of days where it's like just like survival mode. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Reminds me of the Mike Tyson quote, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth, or something like that. Probably horribly butchering it, but yeah, life has a way of kicking you in the mouth, and then you're like, whoa, regroup.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what are you doing? I guess, what steps are you taking to apply any of this philosophy? I guess if there's any specific that you could share, where you would be like, okay, this is a way in which with our kid, we have tried to apply this philosophy.
Yeah,
I know
that's hard, because I feel like it's subtle.
Yeah.
Like there's definitely things about like when she's with, like when grown-ups are trying to approach her and like kind of ask for certain things. It's like, hey, come over here and smile and take a picture. If she doesn't want to smile and take a picture, we're like sorry.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, we've seen some situations where that kind of makes it awkward for us.
Yeah.
So there's been some occasions where like, do we need to rethink that? Like she does need to do some things like to participate in society, but
yeah, knowing where to draw those boundaries. I think it's important, in that children are raised in a family environment. If that environment is designed to provide guidance to that child, right, for survival purposes, and their brains are designed to learn, and they learn through primarily experiences very rapidly as small kids, so you're teaching them through their experiences, which is why they always say how what you do speaks, so much louder than what you say. But like, saying or putting things on your kid that you don't do yourself, I think is, one huge way in which we confuse and stifle kids. But at the same time, they do need to be led and shepherded and developed, guided. A kid with no guidance, I actually, felt like I grew up with a lot of freedom, and there's times where I felt like that actually backfired on me when I was in my teens. I just felt really lost, like nothing mattered and nothing was real, and I had wished like I had received more guidance along the way. But it's super interesting concepts. We have totally tried to do some different things with our kids by unplugging them culturally, homeschooling them sometimes, institutionally schooling them other times. And, I think it's, you don't know what's going to happen. Parenting is like a giant experiment, and, you just try things. You do the thing that you think works best and see what it, produces. We got a comment here from Preston. Clint notices cranes everywhere now as well.
Preston, yeah, I noticed cranes everywhere. I saw one yesterday and almost took a picture of it. Preston rents cranes, or
I imagine. Yeah. So, anyways, I think doing things a little different, whether it's with our kids or with our family or with our lives or in work or even in our approach to marketing and sales, I think definitely it's important to feel the freedom to do things your own way. And like in your parenting, to allow your kids to feel the freedom to do things in their own way, which is interesting. That really has become the theme of this talk here, as we've just chatted today, of just finding your own particular unique way of doing it or raising kids in that same way and seeing what happens.
Yeah. What's the saying? How you do one thing is how you do all things. Something like that.
I think it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have a certain amount of pre-coded kind of like default behaviors or whatever. I don't know if they're just like built in. Actually, weird story. Like I was standing in the kitchen one time and holding my coffee cup, and my sister's like, maybe your kids are too young to experience this yet, but you will if you haven't. And she's like, the way you're standing there with your coffee is exactly how Dad used to stand there with his coffee. And I'm sure I didn't like purposely pattern myself to stand like him, or we'll see our kids and we'll see, oh, that's Uncle Peter. The way you're doing that is your facial expressions are exactly how. Mm-hmm. So there is like some of that pattern default behavior for us as unique people that's built in, but that's still at the same time part of our heritage from the rest of our family, which is a whole other topic and kind of an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah. Man, I'm going to try to bring this home. So I made a post about Alone. The show, like the survival show. I think it was yesterday.
Yeah, and I actually saw it.
Yeah, now I'm watching the newest season. Me and my wife just got into it. And so last night, every single one of them mentioned their parents. Like they're having these existential crises out in the bush. And every single one of them mentioned their parents. Most of them were saying that they wanted to live up to their parents' expectations. They said that in some way, the reason that they were there trying to win was to live up to their parents' expectations. So that's one way you could take it. There was another guy who said, as he was leaving, he tapped out, spoiler alert for anybody that hasn't seen it. But as he tapped out, he's like, I'm just so grateful for my dad because he showed me the path that I could walk. And because he did that, I know where I can step off.
That's cool.
Yeah. Isn't that cool?
It is cool and profound. Yeah. On that note, Clint, where can people find you? Where would you prefer they reach out to you?
Find me on LinkedIn. Shoot me a connection request or a DM.
Okay, we'll see you out there. Clint, it's been super great having you on the show. I really like talking to you. I think you have some interesting insights, so thanks for sharing them, and we'll be looking for you out there in LinkedIn land.
Thank you so much for having me.